My friends, I get asked multiple times a day, how in the world do I vent my laser cutters and engravers? And because I get asked so much, and to be honest with you, it's one of the most important things that we have to learn about a laser cutter and engraver, I decided to dedicate a whole video about this. Now, no, this is not going to be fun. We're not going to create anything today, so bummer on that. However, this is definitely a very important educational video for you to learn your laser cutter and engraver. Venting is very important. I'm going to show you the ways that I like to vent for my lasers, but I'm also going to talk about ways that you can vent that are not my favorite ways to vent. I don't do it, and I'm going to explain why. Now, very first thing on the list here is that the most important question that I get asked every single day is does this laser require venting? And I would like to just put a pause there. No matter what laser you are looking to purchase, I'm going to feature a whole bunch of xTool lasers just because that's what I have in my craft room. But if you get a Glowforge, an Omtech, a Epilogue, an xTool, a WeCreate, and the list goes on and on. If you have a laser, you do have to vent some way, somehow. So whether that be an air filter or a window or just being outside, there has to be some sort of ventilation system, just to get that cleared out of the way. I know there is a lot of confusion about this because most of the time when you go on to the laser websites, they don't actually show the entire hookup. I think that's probably for just less confusion purposes, but just know that you do have to vent out some way, somehow. Now the smaller lasers, this one right here, you're not going to see it, but it's over here, the F2 UV. And then this one right here is just the F2, the small little one. I vent them all the same. Now every single laser that you get in the xTool family will come with some sort of tubing. Okay. It kind of looks like a dryer vent tube. That's kind of the same thing that we have to do here. So this comes with every single laser that you purchase in the xTool family. This right here is going to go in the back of right here. All it simply does is you just put this thing on there, you put it on, you tighten it up, okay? So this is going to look the same on every single laser. Now here is going to be where you get to choose the options of what you get to do with this tube, because just putting this tube, all right, let's try this again. Just putting this tube on the back of your machine and doing nothing with the other end does not meet the venting guidelines, okay? We have to do something with this end. There is going to be multiple different options. One of the options, I'm just going to throw it out there, it's the very first option that you can do with a laser, is just use your laser outside. I do not do this, and I'll tell you why. I live in the South, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It is hotter than heck outside. Honestly feels like you're living in hell because it's so humid. Most of the time it is so hot, my laser won't even run because it's so hot. Then in the winter time, we get about 30 degrees-ish. It's like the lows, average lows is about 38. It's so cold, my laser won't run. Plus, who likes standing outside, okay, and just waiting for things to cut? So the option one, which is the option that I don't necessarily would suggest to anyone unless you live in San Diego, California, where weather is prime and you get not a whole lot of rain and there's not a whole lot of humidity and it's like 80 degrees on an every single day. Unless you live there, I don't suggest taking your laser outside and just letting it do its thing out there. Yes, there are people that put their lasers in their garage, but they still need some sort of ventilation system. The reason for that is just because this is in the garage and you open the door to your garage, this is still sitting inside the garage with you. No, okay? You can tell me, well, I'll just go back in the house and no, okay? We're never leaving our lasers unattended, okay? Lasers do equal fire, okay? Just to keep you aware, I, knock on wood, have never had an issue, and I'm really knocking on wood on that one, okay? But nonetheless, please, please, please do never leave your laser unattended. So you can say, well, I'll just put my laser out in the garage, open my garage door, and then just leave the room. No, sir, no, ma'am, we ain't doing that, okay? So you're still going to need some sort of ventilation system. I used to have one of my big $16,000 lasers out in the garage, and I still vented out of the side of this like door, this random door that I have, okay? So this is option one. Take this bad boy outside in the free open air and let it just go into the atmosphere. Don't suggest anyone doing that unless you live in a desirable weather climate area like San Diego, where there's not a whole lot of humidity and like the temperature is like 80 degrees and optimal, okay? So the next thing that you can do is going to be purchasing some sort of air filtration system. Let me pick up the one that I have. It's quite heavy. This thing right here, okay? This is heavy. It's called the AP2. All right, let me set it back down. This thing that's down here has multiple different filters, 5 of them, okay? The issue with this is that these filters cost a replacement. These filters have a continuous cost because you have to replace the filter. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So this is okay. And clearly you can see that mine are dirty because I actually used them. Now, here's the deal. xTool does have a smaller, more compact filter. It's about yay big. I don't have it because I don't really care for them. They're like yay big and they sit nicely on the counter. I don't really like them. The reason for that is because I don't think that they suck enough of the filter, the fumes out and stuff like that. And so what's happening, or what I found that happened, and maybe people have a different experience than me, is that, like, let's take the F2 for instance. I would be cutting wood and that little filter could not keep up. So what I noticed is that my room was starting to fill up with a little bit of smoke. That's not the stuff that you want to be breathing or that you just want inside your house. Some of that stuff could be pretty toxic and you really don't want to be breathing it. So while the cute little one that sits on your counter is for sale and you can buy it, I just don't necessarily like it. Now the filters right here, again, are a replacement cost and they can get quite expensive. I use this though for projects that are going to be on the xTool M2, the F2, or even the F2 UV. When I had the S1, I also used it too, just because they're not conveniently sitting next to my window over there. Now I could rearrange my craft room every single time I wanted to use the xTool M2 and then, vent out of the window, but it's just more convenient for me to use the AP2 to vent for these types of machines. Now I have to tell you that I am very mindful about projects that I make and what machine I choose to use. When I know that I am going to create something that is going to be very smoky and probably clog one of my filters quicker than I need to, I actually choose to use this one right here. So things like wood cutting or even engraving, you will notice in a lot of my videos, not including the ones where I'm testing out the machines, but if I'm just going to be crafting, I'm very methodical about the machines that I use because of the venting. So things like cutting wood and engraving wood, I actually reach for this one right here just because this is going to vent straight out of a window. When you vent out of a window, there's no reoccurring costs, which is great. It does take out most of the smoke, like 99% of it just goes straight out of the window, and then you don't have to worry about replacing a filter or anything else like that. However, there is going to be a couple parts that you are going to need to purchase in order to make this like the most sound thing. The parts that I'm going to show you, just know they are linked in the description of this video. So if you are looking to vent out of a window, you're more than welcome to just surf around in the descriptions for the links. Now, one thing to note is that just like with the xTool M2, there's going to be like a little spot in the back that you are going to need to put a vent hose. My vent hose is going to look a little different because this one needs to have an inline fan because there's not one built into the laser. Don't get confused here because every other laser has an inline fan. This one just doesn't for whatever reason. So I have this additional thing. Just pretend that this isn't existing here, okay? There's a hole in the back, just like you saw with the xTool M2. You take this and you put it into the back of the machine. Then technically, you're left with this hose, right? You've seen this hose. The xTool M2 had the same hose, right? We had like this random hose that you had here, okay? If you didn't want to purchase the additional thing that I'm about ready to show you, but you still wanted to vent out of a window, I had done this for many years. All you need to do is take this little hose, open up your blinds, open up your window, and take this thing, shove it in outside your window, and just kind of clamp it shut. My friends, you're ready to go. The downfall here though is that, do you see this gap that's right here? All that potential stuff that you're sucking out of the window, plus all the weather elements, like the humidity and the heat, and in the winter it can get cold, all that's coming back in here. So you can do things like put some towels through here to stop it. I'm just telling you what I've done. You can do stuff like that. I have since quit doing that because I found this like window venting system. It's going to look something like this, and it's a two-part process. It's a two-part purchase, okay? This kind of looks like a dryer vent situation, and that's essentially what it is. Or even like if you had one of those in-room air conditioners, like, you know, a lot of people have them here in the South. But anyways, this right here is going to be the one part that you need. Unfortunately, the back of this hole is too big for this, right? This does not fit on here. So then what you're gonna need to do is purchase a reducer. That goes onto here, and then this goes onto here. And then this is what you put out the window. So it's gonna look something like this. You can see that it only took about 30 seconds for me to hook it up, and now there is no gap inside that window, and all the smoke, if I were to be using the xTool P3, would just get sucked out to the other, like the outside, and not have any possibilities of coming back in. You could leave this in as a permanent situation. I don't, because I worry about my safety and I can't lock this window. I don't want anyone breaking into my house in an unlocked window. So I just take it out when I'm done using it and just store it underneath the xTool P3. And like I said, it only takes like 30 seconds to set it up, so it's really not that bad. Plus, if you get the rolling cart with the xTool P3, you saw how easy it was for me to like push this out of the way. So it's really not that difficult to like have to reset up. This is going to be the optimal way. And you could choose to do this with all the other machines. Okay, the reason why I don't is just to show you is that if this were to get pushed up against the wall, there isn't a whole lot of room here for the M2. Like there's not a desk there. So then I would have to move around the xTool P3 to move this desk over here. And it's just a lot more work than it is for me to drag over this filter right here and just plug it in. That takes me 60 seconds to do that. It would take me a lot longer to just like move everything to hook up out the window. You know what I mean? It's all about convenience for me. But if you are somebody who is looking to get into the laser crafting world, what I suggest for everyone, and it's going to be the most cost affordable for you, and the upfront costs, but also the continuation costs, because nothing stinks more than having a consumable you have to replace time and time again, is going to be venting out a window. If you have some sort of craft area, kitchen, dining room, whatever, and you have a window available, get yourself one of these systems right here. I think in total, it's gonna be about 50 bucks for the reducer and also the window thing. It may be less, but to be honest with you, you buy it once, you're never gonna have to purchase it again. Unlike the filters. Now I can tell you, if you do choose to go to the filter route, the the thing that is going to fill up your filters the fastest is going to be MDF wood. You will notice that I never cut MDF wood. That is because it is the biggest mess maker ever. I mean, it's great to paint with and some people really like to work with it, but as far as like being messy in your lasers, it's messy there. If you're using a filter like the AP2, it is going to clog it up so fast because the tiny little particles, it ends up becoming like sawdust and it clogs your filters a lot faster. So if you are going to go the route of doing an air filter, try not to use the MDF. I've heard of people getting brand new filters and only doing like a couple hours of cutting in one day with MDF wood and already needing to replace the filters because it clogs that fast. So just keep that in mind. I've never had that experience because once I started hearing all of that, I was like, oh, I'll never cut MDF. And to be honest with you, I've never liked working with it. You have to do like slower cuts, higher power, and then it's like all this, it's just a mess. But anyways, that is a story for a different day. So just know when it comes to your laser crafting, no matter if you're engraving or cutting, there has to be some sort of ventilation system. Okay, it is not that hard. I know that they don't, like any laser, doesn't matter what laser company you go to, they never actually show you what the setup process is before purchasing it. So I just wanted to throw this out here and make it very known. If you are laser cutting and engraving, okay, you have to vent out. Now the xTool M2 and the M1 Ultra are very unique because both of them have an inkjet printer. So I would like to put like a little asterisk here on if you have one of those lasers that have that inkjet printer. If you are inkjet printing, then no, you do not need to vent out for that. However, if you then put in the laser head to laser cut or engrave, at that point in time, you are going to need to vent out. Now the M1 Ultra has like a Cricut blade and stuff like that. You don't need to vent out if you're using the Cricut blade. It's only when you're using the laser heads to either cut or engrave. Both of those you have to vent out to, okay? If it were me, I would get a window system. The next best possible thing that you could get if you are like, I don't have a window, maybe you're in a basement that doesn't have a window accessible, then what you could do is get the AP2. Now, xTool does have the AP2 Max. When I got the P3, they were sold out of the AP2 Max. xTool did tell me that they're back in stock and I could have one if I wanted one. And I just said, no, like I don't really want it because I have a window and I'd much rather vent out of a window. I don't want to have to replace a filter. Another option that you could do, and I have done in a previous house. So if you are in a basement, you know, some basements have a little bit of a reveal. What you could do is go through the foundation with you have to hire a contractor because you're going to need to punch through like an open part of your foundation to then put in a venting system. We also did it in our last house. We put it through the soffit. In the part of my craft room, there wasn't a window, but I wanted to vent out. So my husband took it through the wall and down into the soffit. And so it just like, it was interesting. Anyway, you'd have to talk to whoever, your roofing person or whoever. Just know, I'm not too technical about that. I do know he put it through a soffit. So if you're like, ooh, what's that? I don't know. Go talk to your roofing person or someone that's more skilled in that. I just know what he told me he did. I was like, okay. But he just took like one of those like hole saw drills, put a hole through my wall, then put a hole through the soffit, and then just like put the tube in there. But anyway, at the end of the day, yes, you do have to vent out. It is very easy, not complicated at all. Please do it through a window if you can, if that's an option, just because then you don't have reoccurring costs. But the AP2 is a really good alternative. I would not suggest getting that small little desktop filter. And actually, since we're sitting here chatting about it, let me show you what I'm talking about. See this desktop air purifier that's right here, that's $300. Please do not purchase this. I just don't think that it's worth the money. Even if you're trying to take these lasers, like the small little F2 is very portable and you can take it to craft shows. I still would not suggest this because I just don't think it's a powerful air purifier at all. The one that I suggest, which is the one that I have, is this right here, which is there is two versions, the AP2 and the AP2 Max. I do not have the AP2 Max. That's the one that was sold out, and then they said, oh, you can purchase it if you want now that it's back in stock. But this one right here is the one that I have. You can see that it is quite a bit of money. However, it's the one that I suggest. I honestly think that if you were to get something like this, you're automatically, like within a couple months, you're gonna get so mad that this you're gonna be coming up here. Also, just to think about this, the filters for this air purifier, I think fill up way too quickly. One filter is $100. Now, the filters for these, the AP2s aren't cheap either. However, they don't fill up as fast as this right here. I just don't like, I really, like if I can convince you not to buy anything, first it would be not to buy a filter, period. I would love for you to just vent out of a window. That would be the smartest, most affordable, cost-efficient way of doing anything, is just get a window vent system, put it out the window, okay? If the next thing is Ashlee, I don't have an option and I need a filter, please do not waste your money on this one, because chances are you're gonna get irritated and you're gonna come over here and you're gonna get this one. So you're gonna be double spending money. Yes, the price is pretty high, but I would much rather you be happy with your purchase than mad because you spent this and then in like 2 months you're like, oh, this isn't going to work for me. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing a filter. If you need to purchase a purifier, this is one I strongly do not recommend, okay? All right, my friends, hopefully you found this video very educational. I know that it wasn't very fun. We just talked about ventings and hoses and windows and all that jazz that, you know, most of the time you come here and you're looking for crafts that you can make at the end of the day. However, I do find that this is very, very important. It's some really good knowledge for anyone that's looking to get into the laser field, because there is so many options and there isn't a whole lot of like education on laser websites that say, hey, look, you are gonna need some sort. And I definitely don't want you to think, because there's lack of education on the websites, that you don't have to vent, because you definitely do. You do not want to be breathing any of the toxic chemicals and particles that get put up in the air for the things that you cut and laser engrave, okay? All right, y'all, thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today, and I'll see you next time.